Hey everybody, thanks for joining us as we kick off our one of many training sessions here with MSC and their showcase here on day 5 of CMA Industry Week. Let's go ahead and bring on head trainer Chris Van Rye. What's going on, Chris?
Living the dream, Ben. How are you?
Absolutely living the dream. We're ready to get our learn on. This session is titled Audiotec Fischer Technology Explained. Why don't you give us a little intro or a preface to what we're about to learn here?
Well, we wanted to give everybody kind of a crash course. We've got a ton of cool stuff that lives under the skin of our products, stuff that stretches the entire breadth, that doesn't get a whole lot of talk. You know, most guys are looking at feature settings and number of watts and channels and all that kind of stuff, but there's so much more to our products that doesn't get talked about in the same sense. So we wanted to take a little bit of time and kind of give that overview of some of those different technologies that exist across the board, that make our stuff really special, really unique, and most importantly, really easy to work with in the Bay.
And just to specify, I know it's called Audiotec Fischer, but from what I understand, the DSP components and the platform and some of the features, do they go across all the spectrum of the brands?
Yeah, so we're going to see most of these features stretch everywhere from the Match products are more entry-level M-series amplifiers, D-series amplifiers, all the way up into the Brax products. So these technologies are top to bottom. It doesn't matter what you're getting. It's not price dependent or brand dependent. This is about if it has the feature built into it, these are the technologies that are going to back those features.
All right, these are the type of stuff you want to pay attention to, installers and dealers that are tuning in. We're going to go ahead to a pre-recorded session that I had the chance to sit down with Larry to talk about Audiotec Fischer Technology Explained.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to take the time today to explain the technologies involved with Audiotec Fischer. Audiotec Fischer is a German-based company that is very much engineer-driven. Why is engineering important today? We're dealing with a lot of cool things in cars, and some are very, very difficult to get around. What are we really trying to do with these systems? It's our goal to let you know that our world is music. We want to give you that emotion, that raw human emotion of music. We want you to feel that like you were at your first concert or the last concert. We want to make you recreate those goosebumps and the hair standing up on your arm as that singer belted out that note. That is what car audio is really all about. But how do we get there? Because today's cars are becoming more and more complicated in their factory audio systems. If we look at a layout of a new car, some of them are multiple channels with built-in DSP chipsets that do their own all-pass filtering, do their own center channel processing, and all active channels. To that end, the new Ford trucks are running an 18-channel system in their new B&O Unleashed system. So how do we get all of that into the car? So one of the things that Audiotec Fischer has been really working hard on is their one-to-one channel routing. And what one-to-one channel routing allows us to do is take the outputs of a factory amplifier. Now remember, that Ford truck, the new Ford truck, 18 channels. We get into some exotic cars, all active systems. The McLaren 720S has 14 channels of digital audio processing out of their factory amplifier. So how do we make all this work? Simple channel summing doesn't work anymore because we've got things like all-pass filters and center channel processing built in. So we need to take what the factory has given us, take the good points of what the factory has given us, and pass that through the amplifier stage. So as found on our V8 and our V12 amplifiers, 8 and 12 channels respectively, we have what we call one-to-one channel routing. So we take the outputs of the factory amplifier and we simply take them into our amplifier, tweak the EQ, boost the power level a little bit, and then pass them through. So now we're taking all of the good things that the factory gave us. We're taking all of their all-pass filtering. We're taking their center channel processing. And now we're not changing a thing in the car other than making the system better. So that's one way you can do it. The other way is with a digital preamp, and we make that in the SDMI 25, and NavTV does a great job of giving us digital preamps. But in that era where we can't get a preamp or we want to use the factory processing, we can do that and still give the customer a better experience overall. The second thing that all of our processors and our amplified processors have is what we call ISA. And ISA is Input Signal Analyzer, and this is built into every one of our ACO platform devices. So now there's no guesswork anymore. If you want to know exactly what's going on with that factory system, you hook up the output channels of the factory amplifier into the inputs of our processor or any amplified processor, and up on the screen will come a graph of exact frequency response of that particular channel. As soon as you sum another channel into that, it will show you whether there's all-pass filters in the car and allow you to make that decision and educate you first, and then allow you to make that decision on how to best tackle the system. Because as we started with, these things aren't getting any easier, and our goal as a dealer is to deliver a better experience for the customer. So with Input Signal Analyzer, we're able to look at all the factory signals coming into our system and decide whether we are best to use a one-to-one pass-through, whether we can do summing, or exactly what is the best option to do. Once we've got that Input Signal Analyzer information noted, we then move on to our automatic time measurements and our automatic EQ settings. So instead of using a tape measure or a laser measurement device, we now have automatic time measurement. And this is very unique. It's used with our MTK1 microphone kit. That plugs in to the computer, the same computer that you're running the software on, and it will send out impulse response, so little pulses, pop, 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 through each speaker, and will actually accurately measure the time arrival from each speaker in the car. So this takes the guesswork out, because not every time is it the actual physical measurement for the sound to get to your listening position. A lot of times there's things in the way, steering wheels, dash components, all that make a difference with the impulse response measurement. So we're actually taking that measurement, and then you can automatically set the time delay in our software for each and every one of our ACO-based platform. Then we move on to Auto EQ. Chris did an excellent job of explaining this in our DSP software, but with the automatic EQ, again used with our MTK1 microphone, by doing sweeps from ear to ear with the microphone over a 20-second time frame, we're doing an average of what that microphone is picking up as you're sweeping it from ear to ear. Once we have that spatial average, we then can use that information to automatically program the equalizer to fix that. And as Chris explained, with our software, we can do that channel by channel, or we can do that virtual channel groupings, any way that you want to do, from something that's very efficient in a more production-based shop that wants to turn out great sounding cars repetitively, or to the custom guy that wants to deliver the absolute best. We have all those tools available for you. Moving on to our SFX processor is where we start delivering some real cool goodies that allow you to custom tailor the system for your client. We've all heard the terms, and you've heard me explain it already, with all-pass filters and upmixing, center channel processing. We have that built in. So going back to that first picture of the singer belting out that tune, our real center algorithm was developed specifically by Audiotec Fischer to address some of the concerns with typical upmixed audio systems. So what we're doing is we're pulling unique information that is equally recorded in left and right channel, and then bringing that on to the center channel, creating that real center image. So that vocalist is now out on your dash singing to you, and the speakers have disappeared in the car. This is very important to remember, is typical center channels are a mixed mono signal and can actually confuse and make the center channel diffuse and the image diffuse. With real center, again developed by Audiotec Fischer, that real center is right there on the center of your hood in the car. Our stage expander circuit works in conjunction with our real center. Sometimes when you add a center channel, upmix center channel, the stage kind of compresses. With our stage expander circuit, we are now pushing the boundaries of your A-pillars beyond the confines of the car. So not that we condone driving with your eyes closed, but in your driveway, just close your eyes and imagine the concert, because that's what Real Center along with Stage Expander does. It creates an unbelievable 3D center channel processed soundstage on the front dash of your car. It truly is amazing. So for those of you who like a little bit of extra bottom end in your system, we'd like to introduce the augmented bass processing. So this is kind of two different functions. Typically, the way our ear hears, when we're listening at lower volumes, the low frequency and high frequency of our systems, the way our ear hears, rolls off. So what we've done is, with our augmented bass processing circuit, at lower volumes, and this is completely adjustable by the person who's doing the tuning, we can increase the level of the bass response at lower volumes. And as you start to turn the knob and get louder and louder and louder, our ears become more sensitive to the bass frequencies as well, and we roll that circuitry off. So we're not having small subwoofers or factory speakers being pushed beyond their physical boundaries, but yet at that lower volume, we're still getting that impact and that warmth and that hug you warm natural feeling that we would get from a properly tuned system. The other part of the augmented bass circuit is that we are actually looking at the fundamental and harmonic frequencies of the actual recording and are digitally recreating harmonics below the fundamental frequency. So if you've got older recording that doesn't have a lot of that lower frequency information, with our augmented bass processing, again, completely user-defined, we are now able to create that warm, punchy bottom end in some of the recordings, older recordings that don't have a lot of that information. So that's two real important circuits with three Real Center, augmented bass, and Stage Expander that create a whole new experience in the car that are exclusive to Audiotec Fischer and our ACO-based platform. Moving on to our last section, we get into start-stop technology and ADEP. These are very, very important circuits, especially in today's cars with start-stop technology. What is happening with these cars is, as you pull up to a stoplight, the engine shuts off, and then when you're ready to go, you push the gas pedal, the engine fires up. But what happens there is a big voltage drop, sags down. Typically, with car audio equipment, especially DSP technology, that wreaks havoc with the performance of the audio system. The system can shut down, turn back on with pops and bangs, and create not a pleasant experience for the end user. So with our auto start-stop technology, our product is designed to work down to as low as 6 volts for up to 5 seconds, allowing that start-stop process to take place without interrupting the end user's musical experience in the car. And again, this can be found in any of our products, including just our standalone amplifiers. Anything with a high-level input features the start-stop capability. Again, there's many new technologies in cars that basically monitor what is happening with the factory speaker system. So if that factory speaker system is disconnected, as would be in a typical high-level installation, our ADEP circuit replaces what the factory amplifier wants to see from the factory speaker. It's a reactive load on the factory amplifier. So we've all been there where we've hooked a factory amplifier up to our new upgraded audio system and turned it on and there was no audio. Because what's happening is that factory amplifier is looking for a specific load from that factory speaker. And it's not a static load, it's a reactive load. So with our ADEP circuit, we can recreate that reactive load and not only have it so the system comes on and reproduces audio cleanly, but not put any soft codes in the car's computer system. So that equates to better sound quality and less problems at the dealership when the customer takes their car in for regular service. With ADEP, there's no problem with any of that any longer. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. We have a lot of other technologies in our product, but we want to make you aware that we are a music-first company and engineer-driven. And with the technologies that we've covered off today, We believe that this will give you years and years and years of enjoyment for your end users and make your life in the install bay a much simpler and effective process. Thanks for using our products, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Great presentation there from Larry. I'm going to throw the mic over to you, Chris. Is there anything you wanted to add or a takeaway from that whole presentation?
Well, I mean, with Audiotec Fischer, talking about technology is something that you can go on for weeks on. There's so much to that company and what they do. When we made our first initial trip over there, that was one of the biggest things that we learned that was a monster green flag for us. They are so technology driven. They are so focused on so many different aspects. They're an ISO certified company, meaning they track not just every component or every system that they build, every product that they roll out the door, but every component that goes into every product is tracked and serialized to monitor all aspects of reliability and performance throughout the lifespans of these different products. The other big thing that we learned from this company is that roughly 50% of what they build is actually OEM. So they're building for vehicle manufacturers. Whether it be Volkswagen, Volvo, those are the kinds of companies that these guys are catering to, in addition to us 12-volt specialists around the world. So with that, they're meeting OEM specifications, not consumer electronic specifications. Little things, us as Canadians here, we know we've got cold weather issues to deal with electronics. We have a huge chunk of our US partner base that is dealing with heat issues. I mean, a car in the middle of Phoenix in the middle of summer is going to be 130, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Here in Calgary, it's not uncommon for that DSP to be going through -40, -50 C at some stages. So with these guys building to OEM specifications, we're actually meeting temperature standards that are far beyond consumer grade. Most consumer grade products are built to work from 0 degrees up to 40 degrees C. Our system runs from -35 to 75 C, no questions asked. And that still falls within spec. So those are the kinds of things that Audiotec Fischer does that don't get talked about out in the real world. Same kind of thing as the start-stop technologies. Being able to take that and run those systems for up to 5 seconds off just 6 volts and stabilize that DSP circuit and make sure that there's no hiccups, no issues, no problems that show up down the road, and the long-term reliability. And what is ultimately the most important part is your consumer's experience, what they're getting for their money at the end of the day.
I think that, you know, there are different customers out there when it comes to higher end audio, and DSP is certainly a huge component to that. So this is my 2 cents. I'd like to reflect on what I just learned from that presentation. Audiotec Fischer has organized their technology and presented it in ways that is easily explainable to the consumer from a sales standpoint. You know, a lot of these technologies are intricate, but they've managed to put it in a way that you could use them as selling points because each one of them means something to that end user in a real world type of way. We have dealers listening in, and a lot of the questions that we see in the comments are coming in is that this is great, right? Great for installers when you get really technical and you got all the parameters and all these settings. But at the end of the day, the consumer wants to know that his vehicle or her vehicle, along with this piece of equipment, is going to get them what they want. What all Audiotec Fischer has done is has engineered product and designed it in such a way to make it easier to sell and deliver on all those promises made during that sales process. That's my 2 cents.
That's exactly it. These are products that are built for the end use consumer. I mean, they've chosen their cars. Most cases, that's the second most expensive thing they own. They bought it for a reason. They like the way it looks. They like the way it works. They just don't like the way it sounds. So the Audiotec Fischer lineup of products is built to enhance that stuff. We're not there to compromise. We don't want to be losing features. We don't want to be getting into things that work differently or are less reliable. We want to make sure that they've got everything they had before and then some. Things like our one-to-one routing, make sure that we can do all of that kind of stuff, even in vehicles where we don't have preamp solutions available and we're forced to leave OEM amplifiers and processing in place. Things like one-to-one actually let us get in there and retain all of those features, things like center channel up mixers, all pass filters, the flow of silly things like parking sensors. Some of these new cars are making it so that an alert's coming from the back right corner of the car, comes from the back right speaker. Back left, front, those things move around. So if we drop a 2-channel digital preamp in there, those are things that are going to be compromised. So we have a solution in the one-to-one routing, especially through things like our V12 amplifier, which is 12 channels in, 12 channels out, 14 channels of DSP, that allow you to go through and take all of that system and run it in, out, while adding the extra power, the processing that you want to add into it, and tailor that system for exactly what the customer's looking for.
You nailed it when you said no compromise. Customers do not, we're past that now. They expect there to be a solution. They expect to not have to sacrifice anything to get what they want.
That's the world we live in these days.
It's the world we live in. So yeah, that's exactly what I think. And I think the most clutch thing that Larry said was that these technologies exist across the entire platform.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, most of what you see in there, things like our ADEP circuit, which is that dynamic loading circuit, is available on every single high-level product that we build. It doesn't matter if it's our little M1 amplifier or a D1 mono amplifier, all the way up into our flagship V12 product, and every step in between. If it's got high level, it has ADEP on it. That's just a fact. Things like the start-stop circuits. Every single product we build, from standalone DSP, standalone amplifiers,
no
combos,
extra module required, built in.
Everything. It's all there, built right in. No questions asked. A technician can grab that and know it's going to work in the car that he is going to be dropping that into. Through our dealer base, ADEP is one of the closest things that we monitor, and one of the biggest things that we learned to this point is we haven't been beaten yet. ADEP works in every single car that we've tested, from the Fiat-based Chrysler vehicles that actually throw codes in the information cluster, all the way up to some of our new greater challenges like the new McLarens and the new Mercedes platforms. Having that ability to integrate into those without issue is absolutely massive.
No, absolutely. Well, we're down to the end of the session. The session was called Audiotec Fischer Technology Explained. I think we achieved that.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this one, Chris.
Anytime, Ben. Thank you.
There you have it, folks. Audiotec Fischer Technology Explained. Thank you to Larry Penn for that presentation. Tons of technology packed into the Audiotec Fischer family of products, and we're going to learn a lot more as we continue down the path of this MSC showcase here on day 5 of CMA Industry Week. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, connect.